640, 654.
654.
655.
So we have that here. Okay, we're going to continue with the halachas of Tefillin. We're up to the hanocha, the putting on the tefillin, and we talked about how the tefillin on the shalyad should be put on. Let me take out a pair of tefillin again. We talked about how the shalyad should be put on. Now we're going to discuss how the shalrosh should be put on. Kasher hatfilin shalrosh tzarich liyes b'chelik ha'achuri shalrosh. The kasher, which is the knot, this is the kasher. So this kasher of the tefillin should be in the back of the head. The chelik ha'achuri, it's in the back of the head. B'seif ha'gulgoylas, on the bottom of the skull. Magbil pnei ha'odam. So it should be like from the back to the front. This is where about the face of the person is. So that's about where the kesher in the back should be. So often what we are really concerned about most is when you put on the tefillin, that the tefillin should be okay in the front. And to make the tefillin okay in the front, sometimes you push it up, pull it down, but you're forgetting that in the meantime, the kesher in the back is also moving around. And the kesher in the back also has a very special place where it needs to be. So you can't just independently think about the front of the head where the shalrosh should be. You have to, at the same time, remember that in the back, the kesher, this part, has to be in a very special place in the back. So what we're saying, where should it be in the back? So what it may mean sometimes, if your tefillin is not in the right place in the front, sometimes it just means moving it around so that it's in the right place, and then automatically you'll also have the back in the right place if you set it that way originally. But if you're wearing somebody else's tefillin, for example, so he may have a bigger head, a smaller head, and you might be, pulling the front to a particular place, and in the meantime, what's happening is you're moving the front, you're moving the head. So what happens is this moves at the same time. So what's happening, if this is moving, this can end up being on the side as opposed to in the middle where it belongs. That's not good. It always has to be in the right place, in the middle, and also not too high, not too low. So that has to be carefully looked at. And sometimes you need somebody else to take a look and tell you, perfect. Or else it might need to be adjusted. Sometimes you can do it yourself, but if you don't know how to adjust the ritzua and the kesher in the back, so you might need somebody that's familiar with it as to maybe making it a little bit bigger for you or a little bit smaller so that the front and the back end up being in the right place. So in the back, we talked about where the kesher should be, and so too, tzarich shachelik. We talked about the front. V'zar sheishar v'mukad be'emtza ha'erev le'ital itztadim. And we said that it should be in the middle, and it shouldn't be moved to a side. Just like in the front, it has to be in the middle, bein einacha, between your eyes. So too in the back, it has to be right in the middle. In the middle meaning, between the right and the left, set it in the middle. So again, if you start off with the tefillin this way, if the front is going to be in the middle, the back is going to be in the middle too. But suppose you're starting off with somebody else's tefillin and you're just adjusting the front to move a little bit, so you might end up with the back being not where it belongs. Yeah. So no, where it's supposed to be is right below that, below the bone. Yeah, but that can't tell you necessarily to the right or to the left. It can just tell you it shouldn't be lower or higher. Sort of, but again, okay, but that's more for telling you not to be higher or lower, but the middle, and again, the best way to know that it's in the middle is if you have it set to begin with this way and you don't move it around, then you know if in the front it's in the middle, in the back it's in the middle too. Okay. Practice. When you do things and you're comfortable with and you're used to, you set yourself your own adjustments to be sure that you have it right. But I would recommend only that before you adjust it and decide that this is the right way, have somebody take a look at it. Once you feel you have it right, let somebody take a look in the back. Does it look right? Or maybe you feel that's the exact place, but it's really a little bit off. It might be perfect. But once you've established that it's perfect, so that's a good sign, good simon for you. It may not be a good simon for somebody else. Well, in the back, there's also a bone. You can feel it, right? No. Right below the bone is where the kasher should be. Huh? Below the bone. Okay, we'll check it out for you soon. Hakasher sheberoish asui kimin dalet. This kasher, this knot, the way we do it, others make it differently, but we make it like a dalet. Looks like a dalet. Asui kimin dalet. It's made like a dalet. V'yeshli zoed shlo yishape hakasher klape dim. That it shouldn't be turned around. Sometimes, for whatever reason, you weren't careful the way the tefillin were put together and whatever, and sometimes you could end up with the tefillin like this. So you have, either when you put it on your head, you don't have the black sticking out, it's turned over, or you can have that the kasher is also sometimes on the inside instead of the way it's supposed to be. So, right. Rabbi Tanya brings it, right. Because again, that is, and as we'll soon learn, it says the concept of that the ritzuas shouldn't be turned over. But as we'll soon learn, specifically when we talk about the ritzuas, it's this part of the ritzuas. It's that comes on the head, the kasher, and similarly so, we talk about the ritzua where you make the first tie of the shalyad. Although you have ritzuas over here too, but that's not as crucial as the top one is.
Saying if somebody made a mistake,
correct. Right, we'll learn that soon. That's more a minhag than a halacha. Yizahir, you have to be careful. Again, talking about the ritzuas, how you wrap it around your head and your arm. Yizahir shleitiya shum chtzitza ben sa'arei lebein tefillin. That there shouldn't be anything interrupting in between your hair and the tefillin, so that the tefillin should be right on your head without anything in between. I mean, you have your hair, the regular hair that's here, but as we'll soon learn, that what that also means, lo yigadil sari saruchos blurius b'makim anochas tefillin. You have to be careful that you don't grow long hair over here. A lot of people have long hair, so the regular normal hair, that's here, that's not a chatzitza. But if you have especially long hair, and some people comb it especially in a special way and whatever, that could be considered a chatzitza. That's certainly true, but you don't need an afro for that. You can even have it without an afro. Sometimes as a result of people growing long hair in the front, it ends up being a question, a shaila on the hanachas tefillin if you're yotze. A chup. Yeah. That's referred to as a blurius, which is a troop. That's the word for it. And what it means is they have extra long hair. So there's one thing, you're doing that. That's certainly not the way your grandfather wore his hair. So you're doing it, you want to be more modern. So if that's all the issue, not a problem. But what we're telling, what the Shulchan Aruch is telling us here, that it becomes more of an issue of halacha if you're yotzei the mitzvah of tefillin that way. Because if you have a lot of extra hair over here, it's a chtzitza, it gets in between the tefillin and your head. Regular hair that grows, that's not a chtzitza. But if you leave it grow too long, okay. Sign that my battery needs a minute.
I asked ChatGPT where to put it. It said it depends on the custom.
You asked who?
There are very customs.
You asked who?
ChatGPT. You don't know it. ChatGPT.
ChatGPT. Don't make the ChatGPT your rabbi. If you make him, when you can make him your rabbi, if you also make him your doctor. Yeah, well, but there are different customs, which is true. But there are, as far as what? No, not in the back. So again, that's why I say you shouldn't make him your rabbi.
ChatGPT said drop the filler and have to check them, fix them, then never use them again.
Right. Anyway, so let's go on. So as we said, you have to be careful. You have to be sure that there should not be a chatzitza in between. And then Seder Hanachas Tefillin. Let's learn about Seder Hanachas Tefillin, the way that tefillin should be put on. When the tefillin are taken out of the cover, so when you take out the tefillin, so here you have the cover of the tefillin, and you're taking it out. So there's a way to take it out. You're lazy, so you just go like this and let it fall out, as opposed to carefully taking it out. So when you take out the tefillin from the cover, the halacha says, don't just slip it out. You took it out of the cover, now you're going to slip it out from the cover. Don't do that. Again, yes, here, you're putting it, you're on top of the table, you let it fall down. Shaking it out, slipping it out. What's that?
Slipping it out.
Well, no. This way it falls out, right? You must take it with your hand and take it out in a respectful manner. This is a custom. It's not a chiyuv, but it's a custom that when you take out your tefillin, you take it out and you give it a kiss. Again, that's out of respect to the tefillin. Now, when you take out your tefillin, you kiss the tefillin. Another thing you have to be extremely careful with when you're taking out your tefillin, and you're putting it on. So if you're next to a table, so you put down the tefillin on the table. What if you're not next to a table? What happens to the tefillin? So often the straps fall on the floor. So again, you have to be extremely careful so that the straps of the tefillin should not be schlepped on the ground. No, you don't have to fast. Because it's a bizoy and it's a disgrace. The tefillin, the straps are on the floor. That's disgraceful. It's a mitzvah. You have to do it in a very honorable way. So for it to be honorable, you have to make sure that you put it carefully down on the table. And I've seen even people that if they're not in front of a table, so what you can do is, a practical thing, you can put it on your shoulder. or you can stick it into your gartel or whatever, but you have to be sure that it's not just gonna sit on the floor. Minhagenu, and this is again an issue of customs, but minhagenu, our custom is, Svardim have a different custom, but our custom is lahaniach tefillin ba'amida, that when we put on tefillin, we should be standing. Yaniach tchila es tefillin shel yad. First, you put on the tefillin shel yad, as we said. Yanicha ala kibeires, and you put it, as we talked about earlier, you put it on this part of the of what's that? What's that? Again, I don't hear what you're saying. So I'm telling you that our minig is to put it on standing. You're asking, how do I know? Or you're asking? I understand, but im kolzeh, I'm telling you that minhagenu is to put it on standing. That's the way in Sefer HaMinhagim it says. What's that? Oh, okay. Yes, again. No. Because there are those that have that minhag. Again. Hello. Our minhag is to put it on standing. There are those that put it on sitting, but our minhag Chabad is that we do put it on standing. And again, if you want, you could take a look in the Sefer HaMinhagim. It's brought down clearly, and the Rebbe has instructed us to follow what it says in Sefer HaMinhagim. The Rebbe actually instructed the Sefer HaMinhagim to be written, and before it was written, the Rebbe went over it carefully about those things that were put into the Sefer HaMinhagim, some things that weren't, and this was clearly put into the Sefer HaMinhagim that it should be done ba'amida. Oh, again, there are those that do it sitting. You find it often in a shul. You come in, amongst the Svardim particularly, but our minhag is to do it standing. Sure. Right. First, you put on the tefillin shel yad. As we said, this is the part that we put it on our arm. And we talked about the way you put on the shel yad is that before, if you remember, we talked about this is the kesher. And the kesher is initially when you take off your tefillin, you loosen up the kesher. The way we make a kesher, we loosen up the kesher. Being fair to the way he said it. We're learning. No. We're learning our halachas. We're not mentioning all the customs. I'm just mentioning sometimes you might see something or people that get. The reason I mention some is only because I've seen amongst people who want to do it our way that don't know that it's not the way to do it. So that's why I mentioned it, that although you may see somebody else doing it, this is not the way we do it. And if there are people that doesn't matter. But for example, again, when you take off your tefillin to loosen up the kesher, you can loosen up the kesher with other tefillin just as well. It's not as easy as this. Doesn't work as well as it does with our kesher. What's that? Okay. But anyway, so again, the point of it is in our kesher, it's easily done because the concept would apply to another kesher as well, because the whole purpose of it, or one of the reasons of it, is so that before you make the bracha, so as we say here, so you're putting it on your hand already. It's on your hand, but the kesher is not tightened yet. So when do you actually fulfill the mitzvah? And as we said, the rest of putting around the strap around your hand the 7 times, and even putting it on the bottom of your hand, on your hand, that is also not part of the chiyuv that you have to do. The chiyuv is putting it around your arm on the top and making the kesher, making it tighten there. So what you do is you put it on, so you're about ready to do the mitzvah, because if you're not going to put it on, you're going to make a bracha, and then there's going to be a hefsek. That you first have to put it on, and let's say, as you're putting it on, you get interrupted because it got tight, it got tangled, and you're having a difficulty. So the first thing you have to do is get it on your arm. So you have it on your arm, and you're ready to do the mitzvah. Ready to do the mitzvah, meaning you're ready to tighten it. Just before that, you do the bracha before you do the mitzvah. So you make the bracha, and right after you make the bracha, then you go like this, so it tightens it. So now you have it tight. Once you've tightened it, so you have fulfilled the mitzvah. Now, what you do is, we make the shin, then we put it around in the specific way that it's actually put around your arm, what the minhag is, how to do it. And again, there are different minhagim, but we have a very specific minhag, so learn what it is so you do it right. Not just in the amounts of times that you put it around your hand, it's also in the way that these amounts are put on. 2 together, and then 4 together. So again, it's what seems to be sometimes that, a simple thing. So when a bar mitzvah boy is taught how to put on tefillin, generally speaking, then they're shown exactly how to do it. But if you don't make a point of telling the bar mitzvah boy or teaching ourselves that there's a very specific way that it needs to be done, and this is the specific way with the shin, and then there's a half, and then there's 2, and then there's a interruption, and then there's another 4, then there's another half. So on the one hand, you might say you have to have 7 straps around. So you can make 7. You can make 7 straps, that are not exactly the way they need to be, or you can make it very specifically in the way that it needs to happen. And that's why it's so important to be careful in the way that the tefillin are put on, and to actually know what our specific minhag is. Whether it says one thing here, one thing there, it's important for us to know. That's what we're learning. How is it that we do it? What is the way that we need to do it? Well, again, your yoitz is a mitzvah, but it's still not done in the best possible way. Correct. That's the label. Oh. Okay.
Was it so that they said
by other people, that's what you drove.
yeah, because in a way I know that it's like know that there is nothing.
Be careful with it. I knew.